All right, welcome to the Coping with COVID series. I'm Dr. Neal Smoller, holistic pharmacist, and I'm joined with Ben Lipton.
Hi, everybody.
Ben's a psychotherapist who has had quite a busy month, as I'm understanding, month and a half, right? Helping people cope with COVID himself. So, Ben, thank you for being here with us, and thank you for your service to your patients.
My pleasure. Thank you for doing this for all of us. It's great.
My pleasure. So let's just jump right in. I couldn't say this with the other two psychotherapists that we had on here because, they're baldies. I mean, let's be honest. They're both hairless gentlemen. But you and I, we can relate to this. I'm missing my barber. Now, you look nice and clean, so I don't know who hooked you up. But
that's because I am my barber, Neal.
You got your own hair? I used to have a Flowbee. I have the hair that could use a Flowbee. But anyway, my hair is causing me some emotional distress. And there's like this whole idea that we're out of our routines. And in fact, a lot of the protesters that we've talked about with other psychotherapists here, one of their biggest complaints is that they want to go get their hair dyed and haircut and such, right? So,
priorities.
I know. I want you to go get exposed to COVID so I can get my hair cut. So what advice do you have for me? I mean, obviously, this is not a major concern, of course, from a perspective standpoint, but I'm sure there are people that are kind of mourning these kinds of things. So do you have any advice for us that hair is becoming unkempt and their shaving patterns are going out the window?
I thought you were going to literally ask me for advice on how you should cut your hair.
I mean, if you have styling advice, I definitely need it. I've needed it for about 35 years now. So
watch lots of YouTube videos. So wait, your question is, say your question one more time.
My question is like a lot of us are mourning the loss of normalcy. Mm-hmm. And so are you seeing that a lot? And, what's your advice typically to these people when they're just upset about not being able to do the regular old stuff anymore?
I actually love that question. And I think that question allows me to say what I actually think is the most important thing that I want to say for whatever else you might ask me today about whatever we're going to talk about, which is that it's not, people are mourning and people are upset because we are losing a lot right now. That's real.
Yeah.
And we don't have to pretend that it's not. We can deal with reality and live in reality, and it'll be really relieving to do so, even though it might seem like we're trying to run away from it. So I just mean that it's okay for it to not be okay. I think that's the most important thing for people to take with them.
I agree. We say to our kids a lot, it's okay to be upset. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to do whatever. It's not okay to hit your sister. So the actions that we take after that, of course, have to be considered. So I'm sure we're going to get into all of that. But, so as you can see, I'm not doing this from a wall in my bedroom or from the attic in the Woodstock apothecary. I'm actually out in my woods.
I can see that. I see a very nice swimming pool behind you.
Yeah, it's pretty blue. It's like 40 degrees, and my kids were like, I want to get in the pool. I'm like, I'll give you $1 if you jump in the pool. And they jumped in and screamed their face off. And they earned that money for sure. But you and I are lucky. We have homes out in the woods, and some people aren't so lucky. And so do you want to touch on this idea of like either claustrophobia that people are feeling, or even the idea of isolation or lack of physical, contact, that kind of thing?
Yeah, I'm actually seeing that a lot in my practice, especially people who literally are living on their own, which, I'm here now in the woods with you, but live in New York City, where there are a lot of people who are living on their own. It's the case all across the country. I think there are actually more single people than not in the United States at this point. So people are lonely, physically lonely. Not having contact is a big deal. And if you're asking me like what people might be able to do about that,
I guess. I mean, these Zoom meetings are all right, but I'm kind of tired of that,
Yeah. They are miserable. And I think after a while, and I think it goes back again to letting oneself feel bummed about that. It's not the same as falling into a depression. Feeling sad is not the same as feeling depressed. Feeling sad is a feeling about an actual experience. Feeling depressed is a syndrome of all kinds of things that are actually not about feelings, but are about avoiding your feelings. Right. So if you're feeling lonely and you're feeling sad, number one, you have good reason to. If you're living on your own and being told that you can't go and be with other people. I think there are also some ways that you can address that within the reality constraints that we all have to deal with right now.
Sure.
Go for a socially distant, appropriate walk with somebody else in your neighborhood. Reach out and speak to somebody. It is not the same as being able to give somebody a hug, but or hang out on the sofa together. But it does make a difference. And, don't take my word for it. Read all of the research on what helps people in difficult situations survive them. And to a study, it's social support.
Right.
It doesn't say physical contact. It says social support. So physical contact may be what we want, but social support is going to be good enough in this time when we're basically living in the context of a certain kind of war, really, right?
Right.
So I think that's the way we can make the best of it. And one last thing, which is like technique, if it's okay for me to.
Of course, yeah. I'm all for it.
One more thing about this. Mm-hmm. This is going to sound so cheesy. It is cheesy. I roll my eyes at it, and yet it works. And it works because of our brains. Our brains have a left and a right hemisphere to them. This is not quite neurobiologically accurate, but it's good enough for these purposes. The left side of our brain is where we think analytically, we use words, we put things in sequential order, that kind of stuff. The right side of our brain is where we feel our feelings and where our creative processes take place. And it's not words. And it's where our body processes experience. So why am I giving this whole little lesson in neurobiology? Because giving yourself, roll your eyes now, a self-hug. I want you to do this, Neal.
I'm going to do it?
Have to do it. All right.
Oh, so the problem is that I've been hitting the M&Ms too hard. So wrapping my arms around me is actually much more difficult than it normally is.
No excuses.
All right, I'm doing it.
Now, very importantly, as you're doing this, take your hands and put them on, I think is this the deltoid? What is this?
I think this is delt. This is bicep, tricep. Yeah, this is tricep.
The tricep area right at the bottom. And squeeze.
All right.
And just take a breath. And just feel where your hands are holding your body. And that's going to feel good. It's going to feel good because it activates a relaxation response physiologically in your body that bypasses your thinking brain. So if you hold your hands here, it doesn't matter what you're thinking. You can be saying this is ridiculous, rolling your eyes, whatever, but if you tune into your physical experience, you're actually feeling a little bit better. Do you buy that?
I do buy it. I buy it a lot. That's excellent. All right.
When people put their arms around each other, they do it here.
Right.
It's not an accident.
Yeah. All right, Ben. So the other thing that I'm hearing a lot is of course anxiety, right? It's the undercurrent to this whole thing. A lot of people are anxious about pretty much everything. So anxious about getting sick, of course. Anxious about, what if I get sick for something else and I have to go to the hospital?
Right.
You hear lots of these kinds of anxieties come up, I'm sure, right?
1,000%. I have these anxieties, Neal. I don't just hear them from other people. I mean, it's an anxious time. Yeah.
It is. Yeah, people like with their jobs. Am I going to lose my job? Am I going to keep my job? I know I work with people that, a lot of the people that I work with are pharmacists, so they have to work, so they have anxieties about, are their staff going to get sick? I work with another clientele that is like a work from home already group, and they're seeing their income go to zero,
Plummet, yes. I mean, I think that is really what the wrong metaphor to mix, but I was going to say the bread and butter of my work every day right now.
Yeah.
Is people just having tremendous anxiety about anxiety is what does the future hold.
Right.
And now that is on steroids because we are all uncertain about what the future, we actually always are uncertain about what the future holds,
of course.
Now in a very different way.
Right.
And,
like a global uncertainty because this is so uncharted and we really don't know. And there's nothing that's been conclusive that will say, okay, this is the answer. And so everybody's kind of looking around. They're looking towards any authoritative voice. They're feeding into that anxiety because then they start worrying because they're listening to the wrong people. And it's a horrible process. So tell me,
it really is,
about anxiety and teach me the ways of the force.
Yeah. Well, I was sharing with you that there are 2 slides that I wanted to offer people that I think can be helpful in dealing with anxiety. There are so many tools, so many techniques. I could spend 2 days, literally. just offering stuff. But I want to teach people 2 concepts that I think will be super helpful. They're helpful for me. They're helpful for my clients, if that's okay.
Of course.
I'm going to share my screen. So I wanted to share this slide with you because I think that it can be really helpful for all of us who are trying to deal with our anxiety. What you see is over here on this triangle on the right upper right side of it. This triangle is called the triangle of experience. Another way of thinking about it, though, could be just thinking that this is actually a triangular representation of your brain. And there are 3 different categories of experience that all of our brains are processing. And we bounce around from one to the other. On the upper left side is this thing called defense. The upper right is anxiety. And down here at the bottom are our emotions. All of these 3 things relate to each other. And at any given moment in the day, we are either in a state of defense, most of us these days, all the time getting overwhelmed with anxiety, or feeling our feelings. Now, I'm not going to spend too much time talking about defenses today, actually not any, just in the interest of time, because I know these are like down and dirty conversations that we're having here. But I can at another time if you want. For today, I just want to focus on the relationship between anxiety and emotions. The whole function of anxiety is a warning system. It says to us, danger, 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 danger. You're getting close to feeling certain feelings. Joy, anger, curiosity, sadness, fear, disgust. You are getting close to feeling certain feelings. And my job, anxiety, is to try to distract you however I can from feeling those feelings. And you might ask yourself, why? Why would we want that? Why would our brains have evolved to do that? And the reason is because all of us learned early in our lives that certain emotions, when we felt them, we got overwhelmed. Even though they were however well-intentioned, our parents weren't able to help us feel better. And I'm talking when we're little infants, not when we're even toddlers. When we're little infants, before we have words, our diaper is wet and we're getting overwhelmed and our parent isn't responding. And we learn, oh, this feeling of distress and upset is more than I can handle. And our brain records that message deep inside and learns I never want to feel that again. So flash forward, in my case, more than half a century, scary to say, and something happens that I feel really uncomfortable. My brain has the memory of those early experiences and automatically kicks in anxiety to try to warn me to stay away from that feeling. And anxiety, as you know, is a miserable state to be in, right? It involves a racing heartbeat, confusion, sweaty palms, shallow breathing. It's miserable. But the good thing about anxiety is it's totally absorbing. And in that way, it's super effective because it keeps you away from these feelings. This is the key. Am I making sense right now? Or am I saying
this is excellent, actually. I've never seen it graphed like this. We talked with the last psychotherapist about the defense mechanisms that people were using.
Right.
The idea that they're angry and they're afraid, that's the emotion. Right. And instead of shifting towards anxiety, they move towards defense. And then they start pushing it outwards, right?
Exactly. So one direction that anxiety can go, because anxiety is miserable,
right,
is towards defense.
Yeah.
Defenses pull us away from our anxiety.
Right.
But we don't feel better when we're dealing with our defenses.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's for another conversation.
Of course.
But for today, so if the difference between when we were babies and now, though, is that these feelings that our brain thinks we can't handle, we actually can. We're bigger. Our brains are bigger. We have tons of life experience. I
still wet my diaper, though.
I don't know if you wanted to put that on like a public...
on the video? I think I've talked about it.
I'm going to give you my card, Neal. So bottom line is, the more you can allow yourself to feel what you're feeling, and that's where I started with in this conversation we're having today, you know that it's okay for it not to be okay. The more, if you're feeling sad, you can let yourself feel sad. If you're feeling scared, appropriate to feel scared about this virus thing that's floating around that we don't have all the answers for. The more you can let yourself feel your feelings, the less anxiety you will have. Because just as your brain learned when you were young to stay away from these feelings because you were overwhelmed, now when you feel that sadness, when you feel that fear, and nothing bad happens, your brain learns, oh, I can handle that. And all of a sudden, in an instant, anxiety isn't so necessary either. Yeah, that's what I want to say. So let yourself, as much as you can, feel what you're feeling, and you will not be feeling as much anxiety. Oh, that's what I wanted to say one more thing. I knew there was something I was forgetting. That core emotions, the ones you see listed down here, joy, anger, curiosity, sadness, etc., those core emotions happen quickly. We feel them, they come to a peak, and they dissipate. And that happens within a matter of a minute or two. Hard for us to believe, but that's the science of it. So you're not going to be stuck in those feelings forever. You're just going to feel them. They're going to move through you. And as a result of that, your brain is going to learn, I don't need to be so anxious.
So, Ben, this has been really helpful. And I know that, you have a lot of techniques that you share with your patients on like what to actually like tangibly do. What's the practical application of this? So I was hoping that you could share a few with us.
Yeah, let me just share a few techniques that are like down and dirty, quick, in the moment ways of dealing with anxiety that gets you, really activated, or if you're trying to fall asleep at night or something like that. And the primary principle I think it's important for people to know is that all emotions, anger, sad, joy, etc., all emotions are fundamentally physical sensations that we feel in our bodies. And then that information goes up on the right side of our brain, crosses over to our left side of the brain, where it gets turned into a word. So you feel something physically, and that gets labeled a word like angry, sad, etc. Why am I saying that? Because if you want to help yourself deal with anxiety, you've got to deal with it on a physical level. There's a lot of work out there with people saying you can think your way through anxiety. But what we're really learning is that's not how it works. You got to feel your way through anxiety by providing some physical help and support. So the first thing that I want you to do is what I'm actually doing now. I'm going to turn my my video down for a minute. Just put one hand, whichever one, it doesn't matter, on your heart, and put one hand on your belly. Feel your feet on the ground, and just hold your hands there. The physical contact of your hands with your torso activates the relaxation response in your body. It's just a fact. If you apply a little bit of pressure, that helps more. And if you really hold yourself and then tell your torso to let go. So as if it's like a trust exercise with yourself, as if you're holding your body. So your torso doesn't have to do it. You just give your body a little bit of a relief and kind of provide a bit of a reset to your nervous system. So that's one simple thing. It takes 20 to 30 seconds. Generally, holding something for 30 seconds is what the nervous system needs in order to be able to record it. So that's one technique I wanted to give you. Another one that's, I think, really helpful is if you're feeling anxious, take a moment to check inside and find some place inside, if you can. You might not be able to, but try to find some place inside where you feel okay. It might be as small as like the fingernail on your pinky, or it might be as big as some big, your whole body. I don't know. But find some place where you feel like maybe not quite so anxious, and bring your full attention to that place in your body. And then see if you can imagine allowing the energy of that feeling good, feeling calm, feeling settled experience to just spread out as if it's like a puddle that's spreading out through your body. And then there's a flip to that. Ask yourself, where are you feeling your anxiety if you're feeling anxious, right? Most people, it's in our chest or in your belly. Find that place, put your hand where that place is. And then imagine or remind yourself that you have your whole body to help you with that anxiety, as opposed to just your chest. So let that anxious physical activation you're feeling spread out so that your whole body is helping you now with that, instead of just that little spot in your chest. And it's like if you drop dye in a puddle, it can look really intense. If you drop it in the ocean, it dissipates. Same thing when it comes to anxiety. So that's another thing that really helps. And lastly, I'll just give you one more. I have so much other stuff, but I'm just going to give you one more for now. This is another one of these things that might make you roll your eyes, but it totally works. And it doesn't matter what you think about it. It's going to work anyway. I don't know if you've heard, Neal, about tapping.
Yes.
Just going like this, or the same thing on your thighs. Well, I'm not going to show you my crotch, but you get the idea.
Thanks, but maybe it was a little added bonus for everybody, right?
But you can hear it. That kind of tapping, if you just sit there and tap for, again, 30 seconds a minute, you are, regardless of what you believe, you are going to have a dissipation in your anxiety. So those are some techniques for you.
Excellent. Well, Ben, it has been fun talking with you. Thank you very much for sharing all your wisdom with us. And
that wasn't all my wisdom, Neal.
It's a bunch of your wisdom. I think it's the highlights. It's like the best of. I don't know. There's something to be happy about. It's 8 p.m. here right now when we're recording this, and it's still light out. So that's pretty cool, right?
It is.
Something to get excited about. I know people are losing track of time, but the summer is coming. It's going to be good to just kind of stretch our legs and get outside, even if it is with a mask. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in and listening to our 4th Coping with COVID session. Dr. Neal Smoller, Ben Lipton, psychotherapist. Please check out our YouTube channel. It's Dr. Neal Smoller. It's got the other 2 parts, and hopefully we'll have soon. So thank you again, and talk to you soon.